Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Very much looks like 20th Century Fox's The Book of Life, doesn't it? Well, how funny is it going to be in 4 weeks' time when Disney makes the decision to buy 20th Century Fox? So now they've owned the original and the ripoff as well. I say ripoff as, I say ripoff as if this is a bad movie. Neither Book of Life or Coco are bad movies. Far from it. They're both really good films. But welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. It is Thanksgiving weekend 2017, November 22nd to be exact. Coming to you on the 4th of July, 2026. Happy 250th birthday, America. I hope you've been enjoying the day today. But, yeah, it's been, it was good. I mean, it started off good. It started off nice today, but, of course, we've been under a heat wave over the last couple of days, and now that dome that's been under us has now slowly started to fade off, and that means bring on the storms, baby. And, yeah, it was raining pretty hard for the second half of the day today, so... yeah, that's why I'm kind of not outside doing the fireworks and all that, which is funny because it's my first 4th of July off in a long time. I don't usually get the 4th of July off because it's usually on the weekdays and I'm working, but the one year I get it off, it rains like this. So, hey, we'll live. It's one day a year. So, that's your weather forecast for this week. So let's go ahead and move on to what you're really here to see. If you want to hear me talk about the weather, let me know down in the comments down below. I think that could make for a video for the future. I still got to put together a state of the review. We never could dress for tomorrow. But anyway, let's get to what you're really here for, and that is the movies. And there was no bigger new release this weekend than the aforementioned Coco. Coming on a very intriguing weekend for Disney, to say the least, as literally 2 days before this movie got released, or it could have actually been on the day it got released. I can't remember when, but it was certainly the week of. John Lasseter got fired from his job at Disney. Well, technically he wasn't fired at first. They said at first that he was basically, taking a sabbatical, if you will, even though keep in mind, this was around the time of the Me Too movement. Kevin Spacey had just gotten it, so had Matt Lauer, and John Lasseter got it because he was getting a little too, what's the word to put this? He made some pretty uncomfortable situations for many of the employees working there. Grabbing, kissing, making comments about physical attributes. And literally when this movie was coming out, they said that he was taking a 6-month leave of absence, which basically turned into, yeah, you're not coming back anytime soon. But he went on to go produce Skydance Animation, and that's worked out really great for him so far. No, of course it hasn't, but... anyway, yeah, it was a very interesting time for Disney and Pixar around this time. But hey, they had a great movie coming out, so it kind of took the ebb and flow kind of back a little bit here from what was going on in front of everyone's behind the scenes overall, because hey, they made a great movie. So despite his family's baffling generations-old ban on music, Miguel dreams of becoming an accomplished musician like his idol Ernesto de la Cruz, played by Benjamin Bratt. Desperate to prove his talents, Miguel finds himself in the stunning and colorful land of the dead, following a mysterious chain of events. Along the way, he meets a charming trickster named Hector, played by... was this Diego Luna playing him? I can't remember if it was or not. No, it's Gael Garcia Bernal. Now I just remembered it, so I didn't have to pause for it. But he meets the charming trickster, and together they set off on an extraordinary journey to unlock the real story behind Miguel's family history. And let me start off by saying that, no, this is nothing like The Book of Life, which is obviously going to be the first thing you think of when you think of this movie in general. I mean, with that said, let's talk about this movie let's talk about the movie. And once again, it's another winner for Pixar. A studio that, for the most part, really cannot do any wrong. And yeah, they had a really good Cars movie that actually was the best they had done up to that point, but considering what they had done beforehand, that really isn't saying a whole lot, but... Pixar rarely made a bad movie. Every once in a while you gotta stumble like a Cars 2, or The Good Dinosaur, or even something like a Brave, which I wasn't the biggest fan of overall. I mean, I liked it, but it's definitely one of their lesser movies to say the least. But they have been very consistent, and Coco really is up there with some of their best stuff. Inside Out, WALL-E. I mean, this comes pretty close to being up there on that level. I mean, for one thing, the animation is gorgeous to look at. When you visit the Land of the Dead for the first time, and you see it on the biggest screen that I saw it in, it looked beautiful, and you could just see how much effort went into making this world stand out and how closely Pixar paid attention to the detailing of the worlds they create. It's one of the most gorgeous-looking animated films I've seen in a while, and it does a good job of celebrating the Mexican culture as well. The characters are a lot of fun to watch overall. You got a really strong voice cast of very good talents in here, like I mentioned, Gael Garcia Bernal and Benjamin Bratt. They even gave Alana Ubach a very good role in this movie. An actress who I really liked, a character actress who, she's been mostly known for her voice work in other animated shows like Brandy and Mr. Whiskers. She was in the movie Waiting. She's a really good actress, man. And every time I see her in something, like, I keep waiting for her to have that big breakout moment. And yeah, she has it in this movie, man. She's great to watch in this. You do end up getting really invested with all the characters because they are so likable and relatable, and you can understand where everybody is coming from here. You can understand why Miguel wants to play the music so badly. You can understand why his family is very hesitant about the music overall because of what happened in the family's past. You think it's going to be something involving Ernesto de la Cruz, but it's not really that whatsoever. And the twist at the end here that I like what they did with him is really what the real person who is behind the music and all that. The song in the film is really good. Speaking of the songs, amazing. Michael Giacchino delivers yet another really great musical score to prove that he is one of the best composers out there. And the songs are great, man. I mean, written by the same team that wrote Frozen. They have delivered more good songs to their roster overall. I mean, they were basically kind of the new Ashman and Menken overall. They made a lot of great songs for their movies in the 2010s. And yeah, how can you not listen to Remember Me and just really think of that as not as one of the Disney's best songs overall? I mean, it's that great. And I love how usually in the beginning it starts off slow. The song everyone remembers starts off slow, and then as the movie goes along, it gets more fast tempo. But in this film, it's the complete opposite overall. It's a film that really does start. It's a film that does really start off very upbeat overall, but as the film goes on, you realize the importance of the song overall, and it gets to a great moment at the end, which I'll touch on in just a second here. But I mean, it's really good at playing with your expectations overall. I think the really best aspect of the movie is the story. They did a great job of establishing a difference between this movie and The Book of Life. The Book of Life was basically about a guy who was, part of a bet and basically was killed off with his spirit going into this world of his, seeing this magical world in general. What happens here is very different overall. Similarities, yes, but the films do a good job of standing out with one another. Yeah, this makes it stand out better and creates a unique universe that Pixar hasn't really given us before at this point. Even in throwing in some nice little twists and turns, like something out of Laika. Well, you can definitely see a lot of Paranorman and Kubo and the Two Strings, and even a little bit of Hayao Miyazaki's Spirited Away in here as well. And again, it does what Pixar does the best at. Gets you to feel emotions. There are a lot of great moments in this where you can't help but at least shed tears over some of the events that happen. Specifically, the ending of the movie when, Miguel has to remind his great-grandmother about the song Remember Me, because it plays a pivotal part in the storyline here. And just the way it's presented, the way it's put together, and the way that scene plays out, it's just great, man. I mean, it's something where I'm getting teary-eyed just thinking about it, man. It's just how good it is. Like there was not one dry eye when I saw that movie for the first time and that scene happened, man. It's just one of the best things Pixar has ever done, man. I mean, yeah, this is not one of their better movies overall, but nevertheless, it's still a great, great movie on nearly every front. From the animation, the great respect to Mexican culture, likable characters, an excellent score, great songs, great story, getting at your heartstrings without feeling like they're forcing the manipulation on you. It's Pixar doing what they do best, creating great quality family entertainment, and continuing their long-standing reputation as one of the definitive studios out there. This is definitely a movie that is well worth remembering. And yeah, it was a great time to see that movie the first weekend out there, and nobody really had any major complaints about it whatsoever.
Let the holidays begin!
Fruitcake!
Whoa, gross.
That went right through me.
And when we're together, it's my favorite time of year.
Yeah, you didn't think I was not going to talk about the Frozen short that they put in front of Coco. Well, technically, it's not really a short. It's more of a holiday special that's going to be on TV in a couple of weeks' time. Literally, it was on TV not but a couple of weeks later. In fact, I think it actually made it to Blu-ray. Actually, I think that was the next year. I think it came out on Blu-ray the following year, if I'm not mistaken. But they described it as a new Disney holiday featurette, which, in a way, it is kind of like that, but also at the same time, you can tell it was something that was clearly made to be a part of ABC's holiday lineup, to be at that time, to be there every year with A Charlie Brown Christmas and Shrek the Halls, stuff that's not on ABC anymore, which, really sucks. I mean, it's still hard to believe that Charlie Brown Christmas is no longer on TV anymore, and yet Grandma got run over by a reindeer is still something that's shown on television every year. What world does that make sense in? None. But yeah, there was a little bit of a controversy, if you want to call it that, with Olaf's Frozen Adventure being in front of this movie, and it was mostly just because of the fact that it was the running time overall. I mean, the running time in general here, which, let's talk about it first, and then we'll delve into what people had a problem with it overall. So, in this little special, Olaf teams up with Sven on a merry mission in this special to help Anna and Elsa find their family tradition every year. It's their first holiday since the gates reopened, and they host a celebration for all of Arendelle, and the townspeople leave early to go do their holiday things, and so the sisters realize they have no tradition, so Olaf goes out to the kingdom and gets the best traditions to save their first Christmas from their friends. And I'm glad to see that they still do animated shorts in front of these, because for the longest time before, Pixar kind of started this back up again, it was very rare to have these animated shorts in front of movies overall. I mean, it wasn't something that people did that much anymore, but Disney still continued to do it even after all these years. I mean, you got to give them credit where credit is due for that. And, especially since Disney has done this with over 7-minute shorts in the past, with Prince and the Pauper and Mickey's Christmas Carol in the 80s and 90s, but even with 7-minute shorts, like the Roger Rabbit shorts they did back in the 80s and 90s. With that said, though, I could say that this Olaf's Frozen Adventure is just okay. Not good, not bad, just okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the short, but here's the main problem with it overall. It's like I said before. It was a special that was supposed to be part of ABC's holiday lineup, like something for television. There's no reason why it had to go to theaters. This could have easily been paired up with Shrek the Halls or the Prep and Landing specials overall. And not at all, I mean, not at all. I mean, did Disney really think Coco wasn't going to sell to people on Pixar alone, that they had to throw the short on top of it? Or did they just want to release it so they can try to get an Oscar nomination for animated short? Or did they just put it in front of Coco just to sell toys? That's possible, because Frozen was still very popular around this time. And like I said, it's probably the final part, because there's been so much marketing in toys for this short alone. You can't go into a toy store or a Disney store without seeing something for Olaf's Frozen Adventure when there was Coco merchandise. I mean, I went to Disney World about a couple months before this movie came out, or a couple weeks before this movie came out, and they had a shit ton of toys and merchandise just for this short. They had characters who only make 2-second appearances in this. Like, they made plushes for cats with mittens that were only in the short for a total of 2 seconds. Like, I know Frozen is popular at this point, but have we really reached that point where we're just marketing toys based off of things that only happen for seconds? But then again, it's Disney, and Disney is usually very smart when it comes to selling stuff like that. But again, it's hard to believe that Coco doesn't have as much toys being sold around this time than a short that plays in front of the film. It also doesn't help that it's being marketed as its own movie. Like, you just saw the trailer there, and I remember going into family movies this year, seeing trailers for this and not for Coco, which was really odd. It's just like, you really do have to wonder how much faith Disney had in Coco's success to spend all this money on the marketing. I mean, you go back and go back to 1990 when Disney had the Prince and the Pauper and for the Rescuers Down Under. They put it at the end of the trailer for the Rescuers Down Under, and it wasn't a full-length trailer overall. It was basically a thing to sell as part of a double feature with that. I mean, I've seen trailers for the Roger Rabbit shorts that are just the Roger Rabbit shorts, and not just for the movies they were playing for here. They've literally had trailers for Roller Coaster Rabbit, where it's a trailer for that, and they say, oh, it's playing with Dick Tracy, and this was back when Disney was supposed to release Dick Tracy and not Touchstone. And then you have one out there on YouTube right now for Far Off Place, which was for a Trail Mix-Up, which was playing with a Far Off Place. They have a trailer solely for Far Off Place, which is just as long as that trailer I just showed you for Olaf's Frozen Adventure. Like, I mean, it's really odd here. It's really odd how Disney thought this was a good idea overall. I mean, you really had to believe that Disney didn't think Coco was going to succeed on his own, despite Pixar's name. So they put that Frozen short on there so they could make more money off of it. And not only that, the one thing I should point out is that the short transitions into the movie almost is the way the short transitions into the movie. It's both kind of lame and both kind of pointless. So here's what happens. The short ends. This is like a 22-minute short, and then you would think you'd have like a little intermission for you to get at your popcorn and drinks, refill up, go to the bathroom like they did with Prince and the Pauper back in 1990, where they had the 10-minute, 10-second intermission to get you prepared for this new movie coming up with a much more intense tone than what you just saw with the Prince and the Pauper. And we get something similar to that here, but it's definitely more noticeable this time around here. I mean, it's just like, and keep in mind that Coco is a much longer movie than Prince and the Pauper, Rescuers Down Under is. Rescuers Down Under, I think, was about an hour and a half long, and I think Coco's near around 2 hours long. But I mean, it's really odd overall how they did this whole thing. And like I said, Olaf's Frozen Adventure is a harmless, family-friendly short as you can get. And you're about to transition to Coco with a more intense tone. And how does Disney decide to make the transition to Coco? Just says a thank you for the filmmakers, and that's pretty much it. Like, they don't even give you, like, the little intermission like I thought they did a second ago. But no, it's just a, hey, thank you for coming out to the theater to see this movie. Now here's Coco. And look, more power to them. I'm not going to question their intentions. They obviously are proud of the product they put out there, but had their intentions been in the right place, I really don't think Disney gave the audience enough time to prepare for the mood change that Coco is setting up. Because, yeah, you're going from a musical, loving, his heartfelt story about, you know, the snowman trying to find the holiday traditions for the two people that made him. And it's a heartfelt Christmas thing. And then the next thing you go into is a movie about death. Starting to see why that was a really odd decision overall. But like I said, the short isn't bad. It's not bad at all. But there isn't really anything too exciting or groundbreaking about it. The animation overall is good. You can tell that they did put their money into it. Kind of like what they did with the Prep and Landing shorts, which I just covered recently for Christmas in July, which we'll see that in a couple of weeks from now. But the songs overall are okay, but you don't have those memorable songs like you had in Frozen. Like, the only memorable song I remember from it was the song where it goes like, "When we're here together," like the big song that ends the special. But other than that, it's not memorable, but like the songs in Frozen were. The voice work is still really good. You still get a lot of Kristen Bell and Idina Menzel and Josh Gad in here. There are still some really funny moments, and its hearted message is in the right place. But really, my biggest problem with this whole thing is simply the fact that it was just something that probably should not have been put into a movie theater. This should have just been a part of the ABC holiday schedule, which, yeah, which I think the plan was to start showing it the following year, but because the word of mouth on this being shown in front of this got so bad right away, they just said, screw it, we're just going to put it on TV now in 2017. Because it was on TV not but 10 days afterwards overall. Like, it was something that was paired right next to Shrek the Halls and Prep and Landing, as well as the Toy Story specials. Like, I mean, if it just premiered as an ABC exclusive, I think it could have been a bigger success overall, and he wouldn't have had this backlash from people going like, I don't know if this should have been in front of theaters like this. Like, I mean, by putting it in theaters, you take a lot of an enjoyment out of this, because this would have worked perfectly fine as a special, but there's nothing about it that says that this needed to be released theatrically. At least in my opinion, it didn't. But I don't hate the short. It's not going to ruin your movie-going experience overall by any means, and honestly, it's fine for what it's a fine combination. But yeah, you're gonna notice a major difference. You'd notice a major difference if you watched Olaf's Frozen Adventure and then go into Coco, which are two radically different tones, almost immediately, one after the other. But like I said, it's not a bad movie. It just feels odd watching this harmless short, then jumping into a story about the Day of the Dead, the dead people, and all that. But distracting, but not enough to ruin the overall enjoyment of seeing these films. I think it was cool. I think it was an idea to put that in front of theaters, but in the end, it probably shouldn't have been the call that they made on that one. But I mean, they're both. I mean, Olaf's Frozen Adventure is good, but Coco is a great film overall. So there you go. That's about 20 minutes worth of talking about the big release of the weekend. So let's go ahead and move on to another big holiday release this weekend, about the story of the man who gave us A Christmas Carol. Dan Stevens as Charles Dickens in The Man Who Invented Christmas.
Christopher Plummer, the man who invented Christmas.
Mr. Scrooge, you and I are going to do wonderful things together.
Oh, the numerous ways they're going to soil my long, hard work on this movie. Yeah, I don't think Charles Dickens knew how many attempts they were going to make of this thing here, because yeah, holy mother of God. I mean, yeah, how many versions of A Christmas Carol have there been in any shape or form? Probably millions at this point, but hey, Christmas Carol is one of my favorite stories of all time, so I don't mind it whatsoever. And this is a really interesting idea overall. It's based off of a book, and it follows Charles Dickens, played by Dan Stevens, as he conceives and writes A Christmas Carol, with Ebenezer Scrooge being played by Christopher Plummer. You also have Jonathan Pryce as Charles's father. You also have any other notable names here: Miriam Margolyes, Katie McGinnis, Simon Callow. directed by the person who did Miss Pettigrew Lives for a Day, so a movie I did kind of enjoy overall. Yeah, this was a movie that I really didn't see when it came out. It didn't open up around here, or else I probably would have saw it the day I went to see Coco. But it was a movie I had to wait a couple of months to finally check it out, and I'm glad I did, because it's a very unique and interesting story about the creation of this great Christmas story overall, and it puts a nice little spin on it here, and you have a really great cast that's involved in here, with Dan Stevens really playing the role of Charles Dickens very well here, and Christopher Plummer playing Ebenezer Scrooge very well. It's a really good movie. It's a really good story that gives you the kind of the story of how the story came to be. You know, essentially this is Charles Dickens' ghost story in general here, and yet it's become the perennial Christmas tale to tell. And it's a very unique and interesting approach that they take with it. It's a very engaging film. The visual looks impressive overall. This was released by Bleecker Street. Bleecker Street is a company kind of like STX that didn't really release a lot of good stuff, and every once in a while they'd have that one little gem that was actually pretty good. This might honestly be one of their stronger films overall. It's a very good, underrated gem of a movie that's definitely worth checking out this holiday season if you haven't seen it. But, yeah, I recommend it. The Man Who Invented Christmas. So, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is the latest film from Luca Guadagnino, and that is Call Me By Your Name.
What I think you're saying? Call Me By Your Name, rated R.
I love how when I was finding that trailer, there was a little card that showed up at the corner of the screen that says, "Want more Armie Hammer?" I don't think anybody wants more of Armie Hammer anymore. I mean, they may have wanted them 10 years ago, but have you seen what that guy has been reduced to since then? Did you see his latest movie, Citizen Vigilante? Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that nobody wants Armie Hammer in their life right now, but this is Call Me By Your Name, a movie that made everyone realize, hey, Luca Guadagnino exists, and you know, it's funny because my mother's maiden name is Guadagnino, and there was a time during the holiday season we all thought that he was related to our family in general. They also thought the same thing about Vinny Guadagnino from Jersey Shore, but turns out neither of that is the case overall. Although we might be related in some way, shape, or form to Luca Guadagnino. I don't know. I'd have to check an ancestry to see if that's possible, but anyway, this is setting in northern Italy. Toy boat. This is set in northern Italy in 1983 and chronicles the romantic relationship between a 17-year-old boy played by Timothée Chalamet and Oliver played by Armie Hammer, a 24-year-old grad student, Chalamet is 17 years old, to Elio's father Samuel, an archaeological professor. And it's a very good movie, man. And you don't realize it, but it's also a Merchant Ivory movie, too. And I don't usually cover Merchant Ivory movies in general, mostly because they're a little bit too pretentious for their own good. But every once in a while, you do come across a good one overall. I'm pretty sure I've covered some Merchant Ivory movies here. But James Ivory wrote the script for this one here. So I don't even know if that's technically a Merchant Ivory film, but if it is, hey, this is probably the first one I would say is one I did really enjoy, and it's a really good movie, and it works because the movie does very well, developing these really good performances from actors that from Timothée Chalamet, who's on his way to having a great career, and Armie Hammer, who I just talk smack about him, and I thought by this point with Cars 3, his career was pretty much over, but there was still at least one more little magic trick up his sleeve where he puts up a really good performance overall here. It's kind of like with Minions and Monsters, which I just did a review for, which you'll see that coming up tomorrow. But yeah, you think the Despicable Me franchise is over with Despicable Me 4, and then all of a sudden, boom, here comes a great movie with Minions and Monsters. That's what it felt like when you watched this performance by Armie Hammer. He is really good, and you do buy his relationship with Chalamet in this movie. It's a really, really good film. Plus, it's a gorgeous-looking movie taking place in Italy, and you got a cast that also includes the aforementioned Michael Stuhlbarg, who's been a really great actor, and it's a movie that does keep your attention all the way to the very end. It's a really strong film, a really well-made film overall. It's a great movie, man. I can't recommend this puppy enough if you haven't seen it already. Call Me By Your Name is a terrific, terrific film. So with that said, let's go ahead and get to another big Oscar contender. This one actually, Call Me By Your Name actually did win the Oscar for James Ivory for Adapted Screenplay. It was also up for some other nominations as well. But there's also our next movie here, which had some Oscars involved in it, and that is, of course, Darkest Hour. Okay, I'm sorry. I know that's not the Darkest Hour that you want to see, but how can I miss out on an opportunity to remind you of that shit show that was the 2011 The Darkest Hour? No, let's show them the real Darkest Hour, the one that has several Oscar recipients involved in it, including the person who won the Oscar for this, Gary Oldman.
He's the Golden Globe and the Critics' Choice winner for Best Actor.
We shall never surrender!
Darkest Hour.
So as far as the film itself goes, it's your typical Oscar bait movie. I mean, it's literally the type of movie where the actor who plays the title role in this is going to win an Oscar for, not for this film in particular, but more for his body of work. And that's what Gary Oldman pretty much gets here. But he stars as Winston Churchill in his early days as Prime Minister of the UK during the Second World War and the May 1940 War Cabinet Crisis. You also have Kristen Scott Thomas playing his wife, Lily James playing Elizabeth Layton, Stephen Delane as Viscount Halifax, Ronald Pickup as Neville Chamberlain, and Ben Mendelsohn as King George the Sixth. VI6, right? The title of the film refers to a description of the early days of war widely attributed to Churchill. It's directed by Joe Wright, and Joe Wright, of course, has been a very solid director overall, but his last couple of movies have been more miss than hit. You know, Hannah was not that great, neither was Pan, which was his worst film overall, but he did start off his career on a solid note with Pride and Prejudice, Atonement, and The Soloist, and this is fine, I guess, but again, it's a movie that really struggles with the simple fact that it's an Oscar bait movie. And yeah, Gary Oldman definitely deserves an Oscar, and he is really good as Winston Churchill, but let's face it, he only really won solely because of the fact that he was in a category where there were not a lot of other strong contenders in that category. I mean, they're not going to give it to a young actor like Timothée Chalamet just yet. They're going to wait till he gets his body of work performance. Daniel Day-Lewis already has 3 Oscars, and they're already going to give Frances McDormand a third Oscar, a second. Actually, no. Frances McDormand would have had her second Oscar here, but Daniel Day-Lewis already has 3 Oscars at this point, and I guess they don't want to put him above Jack Nicholson or Meryl Streep for the most Oscars at this point. But Daniel Kaluuya, still too young in his career. He'll get his eventually with Judas and the Black Messiah. And Denzel Washington, who deserves 3 Oscars, is not going to get it for Roman J. Israel Esquire. So, yeah, it was obvious Gary Oldman was going to win for this role here in particular. And like I said, he's not bad in the movie. It's just, the movie isn't bad. It's your typical Oscar bait type of biopic where, you know, you do everything that you're supposed to do by the books, and the Academy sees this and says, okay, here's your 1.6 billion Oscar nominations, even though you really weren't one of the best pictures of the year. Because, yeah, I mean, it's a fine movie. It's a fine film, but there's nothing about it that makes it really stand out as something incredible or groundbreaking overall. And again, it's a movie that really gives Gary Oldman the Oscar simply because he was the best. He was the actor who hadn't won yet, and they don't want to give it to him for a really good performance. So here's one for his body of work. That's simply what it's all about in the end. But I mean, it's not a bad movie. It's just not a great movie overall. It's just an okay film, passable, but not one I'm going to want to watch on repeat several times overall. So, I mean, that's just my thoughts on A Darkest Hour. But don't worry, we will have more Oscar contenders coming up on the next episode of Time About the Movies, as, get ready, ladies and gentlemen, double week! Why am I putting my hands up like this? I don't know, but 2 weekends are coming up your way next time around, December 1st and December 8th, because December 8th does not really have a whole lot, except for a couple notable movies that we'll touch on in just a second here. But the final month of 2017 begins with The Disaster Artist, the movie about the book based off the making of the infamous The Room, with Seth Rogen and James Franco among the cast, James Franco directing it and starring as Tommy Wiseau. We also have the year's Best Picture winner from director Guillermo del Toro, The Shape of Water. We also have Woody Allen's latest film, Wonder Wheel. Is that it for this week? It looks like it is, but we are not done just yet, because on December 8th, we get our fair share of a couple of new titles, including Just Getting Started, which is a film starring Tommy Lee Jones, Morgan Freeman, and Rene Russo from Broadbean Pictures, which is one of those companies like Bleecker Street and STX, where they've made more misses than hits. We do have Margot Robbie starring alongside I, Tonya as the infamous Tonya Harding, movie where Allison Janney won her Oscar for this film. And is that it? It looks like that's it. So we got 5 films overall to look at, including Disaster Artist, Shape of Water, trying to remember this without looking, Wonder Wheel, Just Getting Started, I, Tonya. I think that's all 5 of them. So we'll take a look at all those coming up tomorrow on the show, so stay tuned for that. With all that said, though, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care. Bye.